Some Druids avoid talking about politics, but the Druids of ancient times were an integral part of the politics of their people. They advised rulers and mediated disputes. If the ancient Druids were here today, I have no doubt that they would be quite vocal about our politics. So in this video, I am going to venture into some turbulent waters and discuss a very distressing reality. Welcome to the Dancing Druid. I am Root, and this is Facing Doom with the Good Mind. Let's try this. The population is aging. Birth rates are going down because common folk cannot afford to have children. The job market sucks. The cost of living is going up. Wealth is getting concentrated in fewer and fewer hands. Nearly half of all short-term treasury debt will roll over in 2026. Now, China and Japan have been the biggest buyers of American debt, but they are stepping away from that role. Because it's not just the United States that's in trouble. Everyone is compromised. China is buying its own bonds to create the illusion of stability. China's real estate bubble will soon collapse, and everyone sees it coming. New monolithic buildings, cities sitting empty, superhighways to nowhere. The irony could not be more perfect. In the United States, all the revenue that the tariffs have brought in from the year 2025 equals about 1 month of government borrowing. If we were to keep tariffs high, effectively taxing the entire world that trades with us, and also cut government spending by 30%, and also enact everything from the Bernie Sanders playbook, tax the billionaires, higher tax rates for megacorporations, all of that combined would still not be enough to outpace government borrowing. It's like getting a new credit card to pay off another credit card. It's called a debt death spiral, where the government must borrow simply to cover the interest of money they have already borrowed. In the year 2025, the U.S. government spent $7 trillion while taking in $5 trillion in revenue, resulting in an almost $2 trillion deficit for that year. That shortfall adds to the national debt, which is nearing $38.5 trillion. At this rate, the debt ceiling will be reached only a year and some months after the debt ceiling was raised by $5 trillion. Our foreign creditors know this. That's why they are divesting themselves of US dollars and treasuries. Foreign central banks have been net sellers of treasuries. They are buying gold. Soon we will see the end of the dollar as the world's reserve currency. The Muppets in the White House are saying that we can grow our way out of this debt, even as we're in the midst of a trade war. Throw in unchained inflation, an aging population, political fragmentation, natural disasters, supply chain issues, AI replacing workers, cuts to research funding, a shortage of highly skilled tech workers, the fallout from Trump's immigration policy, and general economic uncertainty while the government spending remains unchecked. Mix it all together and what do you got? Not a recipe for economic growth. The stock market numbers might go up still, but that does not help the common folk who are struggling. So, what can we expect? The two largest federal expenditures are Medicaid and Medicare, totaling nearly $1.7 trillion, followed by Social Security at $1.5 trillion. Cuts to these programs are inevitable, which means loss of coverage for millions of people and higher healthcare costs. The third largest item in the federal budget, it used to be military spending. Not any longer. It's debt service. Paying off government debt now exceeds defense spending, and they are not going to cut defense spending. Quite the contrary. They are going to balloon the military budget even more. And more defense spending there is, the more money the government borrows, which in turn produces more debt interest payments. There is no escaping this. It's so dumb because these numbers are imaginary. They exist on paper and digitally as ones and zeros, but it's all arbitrary. Yet this is the glue that is holding this house of cards together. Our politicians know that there's no solution, because austerity measures don't win elections. So they kick the can down the road and spew lies and distractions and feed into the culture war so they can avoid a class war. Historically, when countries face the kind of collapse that we are facing, authoritarian takeover is almost always the result. Now, we had laws in place to protect ourselves from a slide into authoritarianism, but through the systemic appointment of far-right judges, especially on the Supreme Court, those protections have been dismantled. Congress is essentially powerless, and everything now hinges on whoever sits in the presidency with its sweeping powers. Corporations and even foreign governments can donate unlimited money to political campaigns. The president can fire anyone he wants, regardless of Congress, passing laws that specifically prohibit firing independent department heads and board members. The emoluments clause in the Constitution has basically been completely ignored by the White House, and the courts do nothing about it, and thus corruption is skyrocketing. No one who voted for Trump cares about any of this. So long as he keeps attacking the people that they see as their enemies, they will support him no matter what. Even if it's proven that he visited Epstein's island multiple times, even as he spirals into dementia, even as he falls asleep during meetings and rambles incoherently at every speech, talking about windmills or drinking bleach or Portland being a war zone or any of the crazy things that he says daily. So long as he keeps giving his cult following scapegoats to hate, they will excuse his lies, his glaring incompetence, and every abuse of power. Trump is a shambling edifice of narcissistic greed, easily manipulated by anyone who kisses his ass. He is a useful idiot for all of those who benefit from the establishment of an authoritarian regime in the United States. So you can hate Trump all you want, but it is his courtiers who are running the show behind the scenes. So what can we do? The emperor is wearing no clothes. Empires don't collapse when the numbers stop working. They collapse when belief in the empire evaporates. And it is going to happen. But the sun will still rise, and we will still sing. Empires fall. But the meaning of life is not to build an empire. I can't tell you what the meaning of life is for you, but I'm fairly certain it's not to maximize shareholder value. One of my mentors told me that the spiritual way of life is in the way you chop your wood. In other words, focus on one task at a time and give yourself over to the art of being. Surrender to the present moment, and when the dancer and the dance become inseparable, you'll see that being is more important than the doing. As Eckhart Tolle says, doing is never enough if you neglect being. The ego knows nothing of being but believes that you will eventually be saved by doing. If you are in the grip of the ego, you become convinced that by doing more and more, you will eventually accumulate enough doings to make yourself feel complete at some point in the future. You won't. You'll only lose yourself in the doing. The entire civilization of the world is losing itself in doing that is not rooted in being, and thus becomes futile. Thousands of years ago, the ancient Zoroastrians foretold of a time called Frashokerti, or the Great Renewal. It is an event of transformation and restoration, where souls are judged based on their deeds, and goodness triumphs over evil and all that. It was said that the righteous will wade through a river of molten metal, which will purify their spirits. This myth did not foretell some distant event. It represents what is always unfolding in the present moment. It was said that the key to salvation was vuhumana, the good mind. It is about choosing to see the good in the world, even if the world is burning. Do you choose to see burden or beauty? Are you focused on productivity or presence? Fire may burn and consume, but it also reveals and purifies. Nurture every root that grows. Because when the fires pass, life will return. Every winter is followed by spring. That is nature's promise. Never underestimate the power of transformative change, and do not underestimate the power of your own voice. It can not only bring you peace, but shape the future for the better. Nurture your finest thoughts. Speak your finest words. Be the hands that heal. Give your purest love, and the true goodness of the world will appear before your eyes. Thank you for listening. I am Root, and this has been the Dancing Druid, and I wish you all the very best wishes for your peace and happiness.